this is Trinstar, and I want to trigger effects, sound effects, or the VST effects with my keyboard. So down here on Bitwig, it's meant for kind of touchscreen playing, but I'm using a MIDI controller, and I think using a MIDI controller for triggering effects is slightly better than, say, like CC knobs. CC knobs require 2 fingers to pull up and down sometimes, depending on your controller. Maybe, like my piano, I don't have CC knobs on this thing. This thing's kind of a learner keyboard. It's not meant for synthesizer work. But what I want to do is I want to hit C, D, E, F, G, and trigger 5 different style of effects onto a vocal track here. And you can do it with MIDI, but it requires 2 tracks, one for the incoming MIDI source and the other one for the actual triggering of the MIDI to make sure that you're not interfering with the MIDI signals. And you can do that with the MIDI routing, the audio router. I've probably showed a few videos on it. If you want to see more, just let me know in the comments on how that could work. What I want to do is I want to realistically probably use Note Grid for this. You could send these keys through the modulation system, but I want to do this in Note Grid, or Polygrid actually. Polygrid, I think, has a unique ability that it allows you to send stuff to the effects channel modulation-wise, so that we can program stuff in here and then send it to the effect. Right now we have a...
All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain.
I'm gonna mess with that voice. I'm gonna mess with that hard. With effects. Changing it around, doing some stuff, but I want to do it during a key press. Now this is a audio track, which I just realized, so it's gonna get confused, so I want to change it to a hybrid track. So it should be able to get MIDI. That might help. Wow, that took entirely too long. All right, so down here. So it's getting MIDI on the track with Alice in Wonderland.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more...
Okay, so we want to turn on Polygrid. It's making noise.
This is a LibriVox recording.
It's not making noise.
This is a LibriVox...
It's making noise. Hybrid tracks, pretty cool, but we don't want it to make noise at all. At least not with... Okay, so what we want to do is we want to delete these. We want to keep that. That's our audio out. So what we want is we want audio in. So it's going to go through the effects. So we have audio, goes through the effects, done, right? And then basically what we want to do is we want to start putting stuff like our delays, our reverb, our Valhallas, whatnot, in the effects here. But I want to do it with a FX layer, because I want to do them all in parallel. So now we can start putting in our delays. Or supermassives. Let's get in something granular. I want the Arturia one. EFX, not the refract. I want fragments.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. Alice's Adventures. This is a
That's pretty cool, but unintentional.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox.
Well, maybe we can route it through. So it's just a polygrid. So can we change this to an effects grid and have it...
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain.
That's cool. All right. Why is it now allowing me to move? Oh, it's almost like one problem after another some days. Try to get stuff done and it's just fighting you. Okay, so we got that. Now I want to see if we want some modulation. We want a modulator and we want to make sure that it does. Okay. Cool. So these volumes, you can individually mess with the volume. So I don't want our volume on our effects going like that. We should be able to also mess with the individual mix knobs. Now we can do it one of two ways. We can have this affect the mix, or we can just have it affect the volume. I'm just gonna have it affect the volume. All right, now if the volume's not enough, we can always crank it up later. All right, so
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in...
we sort of want one that just goes through a normal channel. Let's just do tool. Whenever you want something to go out, always just use the tool for the normal one on these things. There we go.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the...
And what I want is I want these to reverse this one. So if it goes up on this one, or this one, or this one, it turns the channel down.
This is a LibriVox recording. All...
Okay, so we got this so far where we got the three modulators tied to these the various things of these. Got the first one tied to this one, the second one tied to this one, third one tied to this one, and then this one, or I mean, all of these turn the tool down so the original recording mix goes down. So now, based on these modulators, they mess with the overall volume of each of the channels. So now what do we want to do is we want to take each of these keys and make them mean something. So with that, we're going to go into pitch, and we are going to look for the pitch, and we're going to start with C2. And then we're going to look at the input output, and we want a gate in, so that what we say is we want to measure the gate. And when the gate comes on, we want to do something. We want to measure the pitch. So what we want to say is that if, and then we want to take the pitch in. If the incoming pitch is equal to C2, then we want to increase this modulator. But we only want to do that on the gate. So we want to probably put in one more logic gate, or we want to put in a selector actually. Let's go to mix and we do selector, and we want to say there we go. We want to turn that off. So the only time it turns on is when it's doing the selector.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Chapter 1, Down the Rabbit Hole.
That is cool. So let's make it a little bit more noticeable. Let's crank up the mix a bit.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Chapter 1, Down the Rabbit Hole.
All right, already starting to see awesome. So basically we can pretty much duplicate this whole thing to say, hey, I want another pitch. You gotta excuse my piano's so old school that it has a lid for the keys. Got that type of piano, so I have to move them up and down because I got everything else on the bench. Anyways, okay, so what we want to do is we want to say, hey, the input, and then we go, and this is going to start getting really weird. So we want to also select. Can this select and do multiple? We don't want merges. We kind of want to do like 3 or 4 select ends. We want 3 select ends at least, and then we want and then probably just a merge. And then make our merge 3 ports. So that way, when it's off, it's fine, but when the thing is going, so we want D2 and we want E2. And then we want our equals. So we want to say if it equals D2, then this goes in. And if we want E2, then this goes in. So at all times, it's not going to send anything, but it's going to send something. Oh, I got where I went wrong. Okay, so now it only cuts it on when one of them's a press. So now
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Chapter 1, Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank having nothing to do. Once or twice she peeked into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversation. And what's the use of a book without pictures or conversation? So she was considering in her own mind, as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and studious, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. There was nothing so very remarkable in that, nor did Alice think it so very much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be late." When she thought it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it also quite natural. But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it, and then hurried on, Alice started to her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she'd never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket watch to take out of it, and burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after it. Unfortunately, it was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole over the hedge. In another moment, down went Alice after it, never once considering how in the world she was to get out of it.
Okay, so you can see what MIDI I'm pressing, and then
the rabbit went straight on like a
trigger. You can see violin right there where it turns on,
so
and then this turns
that
off.
Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down a very deep well. Either the well was very deep, or she fell very slowly, for she had plenty of time as she went down to look about her and to wonder what was going to happen next. First, she tried to look down and make out what she was coming to, but it was too dark to see. Then she looked at the sides of the well and noticed that they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. Here and there she saw maps and pictures hung upon pegs. She took down a jar from one of the shelves.
And overall, you got something that's really interesting that you can now put together. You could save this as a library and then, or a preset, and now you can have it at any time to be doing the effects off your keyboard. Took a little bit to get there.
All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Chapter 1, Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank, having nothing to do. Once or twice she peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what's the use of a book, Alice, without pictures or conversation? So she was considering in her own mind, as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and making daisies, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes was by. There was nothing so
totally
very
something
remarkable.
that you would find in a side-chill, ambient type of style, where they throw on the recording or they throw on the effects at the last moment or when they need to. You could apply this in a live environment, and that's what I'm thinking. This is that basically if you're doing something and you want to apply the effects in real time without doing a whole bunch of knobs, and as you saw, I was going back and forth between it, so it allows you to really quickly go through the different types of modulation without, like with the knob, you have to twist the knob, and then you got to go to the next knob, and you got to remember what each of your knobs are unless you have something dedicated in your hardware thing, and so on. But with the keys, you got fingers that you press on them lightning quick. You can turn it on, turn it off without twisting the knob or hitting a button or mixing a slider on your console. A slide mixture would probably be or a slide volume slider would kind of be a little bit better in this one, but a lot of CCs are mapped to knobs, not sliders when you're doing effects. Normally, unless you have like an effects send bus or something like that. And that's if you got a console-like system, which probably a lot of people don't. I think some keyboards have it. Other ones don't. Mine absolutely has no knobs. So I have to buy things like the Beat Step to give me knobs and then use that. But realistically, that takes up more space. But this will allow you to do it within the device that you have, the keyboard. So pretty cool, pretty awesome. And it shows off Bitwig's kind of ingenuity of being able to arrange stuff and put stuff together that you need tool-wise to do certain things and bring up some more advanced type of setups rather than what you would have with the routing. So, anyway, hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I will catch you later.